Interrupt this broadcast to bring you... It's a bird!
It's a plane!
Okay, this is Cool Nerds Unite, and today we're talking about strong leading ladies in film and television. I'm your host, Amber Marie, with Cool Nerds Unite, and today we have our special guest host once again back in the building. Don't you know who you are?
My name is Kim Bond, and I am very thankful to be here.
Hey, Kim.
I love the
Hey,
enthusiasm.
y'all.
Little Miss Kim.
Hey, everybody.
All right.
So, you know, the subject of this is about women in film.
Women in film, strong female leads in film. Okay, so I think we should just start with, so in general, what comes to mind when you think of a strong leading lady in a film? The very first thing that comes to mind.
Honestly, and this might be a controversial statement, but
We love controversy here.
I think of Halle Berry in Catwoman. I don't know why.
Please elaborate on that, because
I know, right?
I need explanation why.
I have no idea. I think it's because, and like I said, this is all biased. I think it's because when I was really young, I saw it. And when I watched it, I was like, wow, I want to be just like her. And it empowered me. Now, as I get older, obviously, there's a lot more implications with the film. And of course, its overall worth. But, as a kid, it really inspired me. And it made me really feel more secure with my gender and and being like, oh, that's awesome. Like, I want to be like her. And of course, I was like, God, how old was I? Like a teenage, like maybe 11?
That movie came out, I know it was like middle 2000s, I think. Maybe single digits, maybe 2009, 2010, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But I kind of get where you're going with it, because overall, I think the movie itself was horrible.
Yeah, it was.
But I said it. It got a Razzie, and Halle Berry took it with pride. But
She deserved it.
I think even though I didn't like the movie, I kind of like the woman empowering aspect of it, if that makes sense. So, and yeah, me too. For a while, I had the Halle Berry hairstyle for a while back when my hair was all permed up and everything. I had the cut and everything. I liked it. So I do like that aspect of it. But one of the things that bugs me, and this isn't just about the Catwoman movie. This is something I have an issue with women clothing, period, when it comes to crime fighting and superheroing. And I think you know where I'm going with this, is how can a woman be a proper warrior or a proper battle-ready opponent if her armor is basically a bikini?
Well, and you know
that's not protecting anything. It's clearly catering to the male audience because, hey, look how sexy she looks, even though this is clearly not protecting anything. The outfit was dope, but what exactly is this outfit protecting?
Firstly, isn't it flexibility?
Flexibility, but if it doesn't serve a function. Okay, take for example the women of, what was it, Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman movie that came out,
Yeah.
and how their battle armor is it's not really protecting anything. It's meant to just look cute, appealing. There's nothing about it that's actually protecting your body from harm. And that's kind of my issue with a lot of films that portray women as bad A's. I can't say that other word, but they're always presented in sometimes these skimpy outfits that they look cool, but when you think about it, they're not really serving a basic function as far as protecting them. So, like I said, Halle Berry's outfit was cool in Catwoman, and it was appealing to the character, blah, blah, blah. I thought it was nice. But, I don't know, it's stuff like that in general that just bother me.
Yeah, like I said, retrospectively, as we grow up as women in this modern age, you look back and you see kind of all the problematic issues that come with it, and especially back in the early days. Nowadays, we're a little bit more conscious of our decision-making when it comes to women in media. Not as much as we might hope, but it's starting to go in a progressive direction.
Yeah.
The new Wonder Woman is a great example, contrasting to what you were just talking about with the older, first Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I feel like they kind of realized what was going on, and maybe they even pay attention to certain reviews and the critiques of it, and they went back and said, okay, well, maybe we can't fix this. Because believe it or not, women can still be sexy without actually looking sexy. And what I mean by that is they don't have to wield a sword. They don't have to be overly sexualized. And sorry, that's my phone, guys. My phone is ringing. So
Phone check.
phone check.
Phone check.
It was me calling.
But there are other things that make women sexy. Her brains, her charismatic behavior. There are other things that I think that make female, if that makes sense in any way.
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately, this is kind of coming on. Sex appeal is almost synonymous with female leads, especially if you
yeah.
look back. But nowadays, it's starting to shift away from that.
I
And
noticed, yeah.
unfortunately, it is something that we have to really train ourselves to get away from, because it's that whole common. What's that phrase, like sex sells, basically?
It does. Unfortunately, that's the society we live in. Like
We
sex,
live in a
violence,
society.
sex and blood and guts. If it ain't got sex, blood and guts, it ain't selling.
Forget drugs.
And drugs. We need drugs.
Can't forget drugs.
But we here at Cool Nerds Unite do not endorse drugs. But yes, drugs. Drugs.
But it's kind of funny you say that, because when women kind of own their sexuality, or they own
Now
it,
it's a problem.
now it's a problem, and so it's a matter of, you have to be attractive based off how men see you as attractive.
Exactly.
And if a woman kind of owns that, then there's a whole entourage.
Now she's a whore.
right. It's
Unfortunately, seriously, that's the whole thing behind it. Like, when a woman who embraces her sexuality, now she's a whore. Or the same thing, like if a woman shows any amount of power and assertiveness, now she's a bitch. She's not a dominant
I
figure.
like that.
You're like-
Sexy.
It is sexy, but that's not how society
You
deems
can
it.
quote
It's,
me on that
There's a
too.
line, though.
there is a line, but I'll put it this way. Say a man was assertive versus a woman being assertive. The man would get more respect for being assertive as opposed to the woman who's being more assertive.
It depends on who he's being assertive to. If he's being assertive to a woman, he might go up to HR.
It doesn't matter. It's just the mentality of society. See, this is about to go back into that whole Daenerys and Jon Snow debate, which we can talk about later.
Oh, here we go.
No, we're not going to go into that just yet. But I have.
Women in film.
Women on.
I know I'm not about to get into that.
Go ahead.
But
Well, and it's kind of funny how the evolution of film kind of portrays women like sexy from romantic. For example, like back in the day, what's her name? Joan Crawford. She was a beauty icon.
Yes.
Eartha Kitt was an
oh, Eartha Kitt, yes,
Oh, yeah.
amazing.
and they were seen as attractive. And, Eartha Kitt was starting to get into that era where, she was portrayed as a sexy Catwoman. Like, she was kind
it was
of
her voice, but yeah, it was. No, I get what you're saying.
like sensual, maybe is a better word.
She was a very sensual Catwoman.
Right. And, it's funny how, like, women, when they're given a high role or, like, a very big role, they have to have these attributes. But then you have male roles that are kind of allowed to be more flawed and definitely not as appealing. A great example of this, to sharply contrast, a Michael Bay film, Transformers.
Oh my God.
Transformers, you have Shia LaBeouf, who's this dork, everyman,
And then there's Megan Fox.
and then there's Megan Fox, which unfortunately, you learn more about, like, her treatment on set. And
Yeah, I found out about that. That was actually pretty horrible. It's like
Tell me more about that. I didn't hear about that.
Oh, yeah.
basically
It's horrible.
from she was over sexualized, and then he wanted her to be that. I mean, I don't know off rip what it was, but I know for a fact. I don't know. You want to chime in on this, because I don't. I can't really explain.
Basically, Michael Bay
was-
would make comments about her and just a general, like, how
Pretty
she,
sexist.
yeah,
comments.
and how she was portrayed in the film.
That
And
was Michael Bay saying?
Michael
Yeah,
Bay.
that's Michael Bay.
Michael Bay.
you can look this up. This all came out.
But yeah,
about-
she was live on television and was talking about it.
yeah, I remember
So yeah,
seeing
lots of sexist comments were made by Michael Bay himself. And
And it's funny because they were blaming her, even though that's the job she was hired to do.
Again,
If anything,
blaming-
you should point the fingers at the script. So women who don't even, So when a woman owns up to her decision, she's shamed. When a woman is just doing her job and doing what the paper who was written by a man is telling her to do,
Also shamed.
she is shamed.
So she can't
So
win. It's a
she-
lose-lose situation.
So
It's the like the effect that what was it Monsters Ball. How
Oh,
you know what I'm
Monsters
saying?
Ball.
How they did Halle Berry in Monsters Ball.
See, I have mixed feelings about Monsters Ball. It's like, on one hand, did I think it was a good movie? Yeah, kind of. But on the other hand, it's kind of like, you mean she got this Oscar because, I mean, the biggest gripe about that movie was, well, she got this Oscar because she slept with a white man.
Slept with Billy Bob Thornton.
Slept with Billy Bob Thornton. That, I remember the whole controversy behind that, and they gave her so much crap for it. But it's a good movie, but yeah, that's another good example about that. But
you know, I kind of wish there were more female leads. There were kind of, you know, and they do exist. We were actually just talking about this pre-production, but you know, Sigourney Weaver, Alien is a good example that a lot of people talk about, where she's a female lead and she's not sexy or kind of even attractive. I don't think romantic feelings are even in the film at all.
Exactly.
I don't even think there's a B plot about it. I think it's just her trying to survive, and the whole
exactly.
her
And-
sex and her gender are kind of put aside. It's not about that.
And see, that's a prime example, I think, when it comes to character building and building a character. There's a quote I read way back when. I can't remember it word for word, so don't quote me directly. But apparently, when it comes to building a character, you don't assign gender right away. You create the person with the flaws. Then you give it a penis. This is the quote that I'm basically going off of. So that way you have a well-rounded character. So I think that's basically Sigourney Weaver in Alien and why it's such a well-rounded character.
Well, wasn't it originally written for a man, and then Sigourney
I think so.
tried out and they gave it to her?
I think
That
that's,
might
yeah.
not be right, but I heard something about that. I don't know
think
if that's
you
right.
might be right because I kind of heard the same thing.
I heard the same thing also. I
Don't
think that's true.
don't quote me. Look that up on
So
your
anyone-
own time. But I think that's what happened.
So anyone who's listening out there, if you have the straight facts on that, please email us. Let us know. Hit us up on the Facebook page. Let us know.
You know, even if it was planned to be a woman the whole time, I think they, you know,
It still worked. The same
still
formula
worked,
still
yeah.
works. It's like a well-rounded, flawed character. So another question is, so does physically being tough make you strong? Does that make you a strong character?
well, it determines. It really hinges on what you deem as a tough character and what it doesn't mean to be a strong character. I mean, tough can literally be like you're physically, you know, resilient, you have great endurance, or emotionally you have really good endurance, or, you know, and even strength. Some of them see that as synonymous. Strength and toughness is almost the same thing, but I would argue that honestly, strength is a little bit more of an umbrella term for anything that you prevailed a situation in your own way. It might not have been physically bulldozing something, but it might also be like you cleverly maneuvered around a situation, you meticulously planned, and you were able to overcome an obstacle. So for me, toughness, you know, it's kind of hand in hand, but I'll say this to kind of simplify it.
Okay.
You can be strong and be tough, but you can be strong and have other qualities.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
But it's like, I feel like society is so hung up on what strong is as far as physically being strong.
Yeah.
So a strong female wouldn't be a housewife. It wouldn't be the stay-at-home mom. It wouldn't be a girl who's not into being a tomboy. So I feel like certain movies, they equate a strong female role as someone like Jessica Jones. Not saying that she isn't cool. She's great. But to a lot of people, that's considered a strong female leading role. Where another favorite movie of mine that I love to death, and I think it should actually be a requirement that everybody should see, if you haven't seen it already, it's old, but Legally Blonde.
Yeah.
Strong female lead. Even though she doesn't embody any of the stereotypical what a strong female lead comes to mind. A sword wielding, doesn't take any nonsense, tomboy, doesn't that kind of stuff. She's your typical girly girl who sticks to her guns and is who she is through and through, who her motivation through the entire movie was to get her boyfriend back at one point, but then realizing her own self-worth, that it no longer becomes about her trying to win her boyfriend back. It becomes about her trying to prove people wrong, that she isn't just some dumb blonde. She's not a dumb blonde. You know, she actually ends up doing a whole lot better than her boyfriend. and actually succeeded in graduating with honors. Like I think that's the overall message of the movie. It's just
It's
that
a great movie.
it's honestly, that's one of those movies that actually surprised me as how good it was, because the message was so clear, and I love the character development. I am a sucker for good character development and good writing. I am.
Yeah.
So it's one of those movies, like, if you haven't seen Legally Blonde, it's highly recommended, my highly recommended list. So yeah, it's like, to me, strong females, not all heroes wear real swords and wear capes. They wear dresses and they make muffins.
Yeah. There are plenty, and I think a good way to go into that is going into genres like drama.
Oh, drama's a good one for the not so ballsy shield wielding females, because there's a lot of movies, honestly, that I guess you would say deal with that. Like for example, like, I keep going back to this, is like, I've watched Titanic for the first time in months, and like, each time I watch it, I kind of get a new perspective on it. And people give the leading lady, what's her name, Rose, Kate Winslet.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they give her character so much crap because, oh, she let Jack die, blah blah blah. And look, as I watch it now, it's like, I understand why he had to die, and I understand her strength as a theme and her role in this movie. She was a strong character because she found the courage to leave this life behind and take on this scary new life.
Yeah.
So I could go more and more in depth with that, but there's a strength in her character all her own. But like I said, a lot of people give this character crap because to this day, people still argue to death that, oh, they could have fit on the door, he should have lived. The point of the movie is that he had to die. That was the point of the movie.
It's kind of comparison to, this is funny that you bring that up. You have characters, this is such a big trope, McGrizzle, McDead wife character. That's an archetype. That's a trope all in its own.
Yes.
You have a male character who's like, my wife is dead and I'm angry.
Yeah, I'm angry.
And
Grizzle McDead wife, yes.
And nobody argues, and nobody they take them seriously, and they take that as like part of your story and part of that background or motivation to do morally ambiguous things. John Wick's a good example.
Oh, John Wick.
And
Killed his dog.
killed his dog.
the one the wife gave him.
Oh my God, that just made it worse.
Well, and
the dog limped over to lay next to him and just died. And just
Like, I'm sorry, John. I couldn't make it.
I couldn't make it.
killed the puppy.
I tried to stop him, John.
But when it comes to female characters and the whole thing, and it's just like, I feel like having Jack die was a good way to kind of end his, it's based off a real event, and it wouldn't be a tragic ending if both your characters
It
lived.
wouldn't make any sense at all. It would be a slap into the face. It would be like, what was the point? Why did I watch this? Just to have them both live? No, he had to
Make
die.
a sequel.
Yeah.
Titanic 2, the iceberg strikes back.
It won't happen again, we
Turn
promise.
to Big Icy.
But no, it's like I feel like I get the story a whole lot better now, because the more I think about it, like, yeah, Jack was a plot device.
Right.
Yeah.
He wasn't actually a character, which is why he didn't get nominated. I was so upset when he didn't, but it kind of makes sense why he didn't.
But it kind of leans back to what we're saying about how, like, women, when they're killed off, it's a justifiable, like, okay, like, yeah, she either had it coming or, oh no, it's going to be a plot device.
Oh,
but
man.
with him, when he died, people were kind of like, oh,
She killed him.
no, guys, the science, here's all these YouTube videos.
They should have put the life jackets underneath the board so it floats better. Who has time to do that?
It's like, just accept that a character dies, and,
They still argue this to this day.
like, get over it. It's a cassette tape.
Like, I've been reading, I'll watch videos and interviews with Leonardo DiCaprio, and people still ask this question. This movie is officially like 20-something years old.
God.
And they've done far better movies, but this movie is 20-something years old, still get asked that question. Like, how come she let you go in the end? Darn it. And just,
He's like, I'm just an actor, guys.
like, have you,
Ask James Cameron if, I know his head's all the way up and on the
Like-
side of the planet. But
Exactly.
Ask James Cameron. I know he's insufferable
so
to
over
talk
it.
to, but
I feel like it's the equivalent of like whipping out their old baby pictures and say, look how cute you were. Like, I don't want to talk about this crap anymore.
well, and it's funny that we bring that up because, women characters are kind of, people aren't used to them being main characters and kind of having their own, their own growth and their own development, and that they live or they prosper and all this and that. But then, because we're so used to seeing the male perspective of that and the male heterosexual perspective, the male white heterosexual perspective of
Emphasis.
that.
Okay.
You know
Add
what
it for
I mean?
emphasis. Add it for emphasis.
Yeah, I'm looking at you, Gavin.
She went there. She dropped that mic. She went there.
The men with the beards and the
And the pink melanin and the
pink
white-
melanin.
And then
I don't think that's how melanin comes.
I don't know.
right, exactly.
But you know, it's kind of one of those things where women are finally starting to feel like they don't have to be just plot devices, that they can have their own arcs and they can be seen as relatable. And even if you aren't a woman or you don't identify as such, you know, you can relate to what they're going through. Because, like, this all goes back to what you said. Gender and sex should be secondary. You know, you didn't come to see this film to see the fact that she's a woman.
No, the character comes first.
The character comes first. And that's another criticism people are having nowadays with women in media about, well, they made her a woman because, like, woke points. Or, you know what I mean?
Oh, man, that
you
debate.
know what I'm talking
This
about?
comes back to the Charlie's Angels thing that's
The
coming.
bandwagon. You know,
This
kinda-
comes back to the Ghostbusters
Oh my
thing.
God, Ghost! But I love that movie. I thought it was great. Honestly,
This is what's so funny about the Ghostbusters thing.
Please explain,
And
like,
then
'cause you opened up a
I
whole
know,
can here.
I know you're ready. I'm just gonna
God.
say this. I can't believe people were so upset about a franchise that had an unironic, played for jokes, the ghost blowjob scene. And they were like, "Oh, guys, this is sacred ground.
Right.
This is sacred ground.
Right.
You can't have dumb jokes.
Right.
You cannot." And then it's
the
like,
Ghost
have you-
blowjobs. Like, are we not gonna
have
remember?
you seen the movie? Have you seen Ghostbusters 2?
Yeah.
like nobody, and this all goes back to the fact that women have a different criteria of what they're allowed to talk about, even in comedy. You know, you can have a great example. This might not be about this will circle back to Ghostbusters.
Okay,
but,
I'm listening.
You know, the whole Amy Schumer thing. You know, a lot of people don't like her comedy, which I
Because
understand.
they say she copies it. But, you know.
and that is true. But
Is it
there,
like-
before
Right.
before
Say
that
that a
happened,
little louder for the people in the back.
but you know, even with that aside, you know, her own original content, not all of it, but you know, there are some times where she does go on her own, and you know, it is very raunchy humor, and people are like, "Oh, it's not funny, it's not funny, it's not funny." Even if it's her own content, they're like, "Oh, it's not funny, it's not funny, it's not funny." And then you have, God, I'm like, I don't know, Jeff Dunham. You know, the ventriloquist.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Right, you know, he does a lot of like kind of lowbrow humor, but people kind of celebrate him.
I feel like women can't get away with that. I don't
Let's
know.
be real here.
Women-
You got
women-
gimmicks let you do things that, you know, they kind of take you down a path where it's
Well,
like
I'm
you
not-
kind of get away with some stuff that you wouldn't normally even get away with.
I just maybe a better example is like Daniel Tosh. That's a better example because I think people like Jeff Dunham because, you know, he has a lot of talent in ventriloquy and all
Oh,
this
look,
and
it's a
that.
dummy that's making raunchy jokes.
But it takes
See how the
it.
gimmick takes it to another, you know, and
Yeah.
say, oh, it's a dog.
But,
Makes
but
it less
like
offensive.
Daniel Tosh is like, you know, he makes horrible jokes and he makes and you know, he has his own TV show. I think it's still going. Tosh.0.
Oh, Tosh Boy, that's still going?
I
Yeah.
think it is.
Yeah,
I think it might be still going.
Tosh Point Oh still on
Yeah,
Tosh?
it's still on.
Yeah.
Which is funny because he does what like YouTubers do now. Like they're like, oh, look at this person on the internet. Let me make a joke.
Tosh Point Oh.
I think it's still going on. And if it isn't, it went on for a long time.
Yeah, I remember
but-
that.
What I'm getting at is that like if a woman kind of does the same brand of humor, they either get no recognition or Amy Schumer gets the worst of it.
She does.
She gets
does.
the worst of it. Which I'm not going to argue like, oh, her content's stolen, all this and that. Look, I've seen the video compilations. I get it. I've also seen them.
There are YouTube videos of
Dedicated
compilations
to
dedicated.
Several compilations.
Yes, showing that Amy Schumer allegedly,
Allegedly.
steals other people's content.
Which I mean, let's be real here. Like all male comedian shticks. Like, how many jokes are you gonna do about my wife? Am I right? You know, like nothing's ever.
Kevin Hart does.
Yeah, he does.
Kevin Hart,
Talks about his wife, his
abundance of
kids.
material.
I want to say like wife and kids is like that's like a gold mine in itself because every day's a journey.
Yep.
So
But cycling back to Ghostbusters is a great example of this. Women in media, like it's the same kind of humor. Now it might be a little different, obviously, but I think people they didn't like the change, and they argued. There's thousands of think pieces on this, being like, oh, they made them women because the political controversy of God forbid women be the head. And I personally, I saw it. It was okay.
I thought it was okay. I thought it was really funny.
I thought it just like any other Ghostbuster film.
I thought it was hilarious. I saw it in the park. They had one of those special live screenings out in the park once, and they reviewed it. And I thought it was really good. I laughed. I thought it was hilarious, but I didn't see anything wrong with it. I mean, but there are a lot of movies like Ocean's 8.
Yeah.
I thought that was good too. Heist movie. Great. Sandra Bullock. You have a lot of my favorite. Kate Blanchett is in this movie. It's
You cannot go wrong with Sandra Bullock.
I mean, I liked it. I thought it was a good one. You had Rihanna in it. You had Kate Blanchett in it.
Bullock
You
is pretty
had,
hot. I like her.
yeah, I thought it was a good movie. But in the new Charlie's Angels movie that's out, I still haven't seen it yet. It's one of those movies like,
It's a remake that didn't need to be remade.
yeah, it's a remake that didn't need to be remade, that no one actually asked for. I'm not arguing.
Who were the original angels? It was
the original Angels?
right. I can't remember.
Farrah
Was it
Fawcett.
Yeah,
Farrah
I remember. I know
Fawcett.
Farrah.
The girl,
Wendy-
I think it was
what's her name?
girl from Kill Bill, the Asian chick from Kill Bill.
Wendy. No.
No, you're thinking of the 2000 Charlie's
that's-
Angels. We're talking about the
original.
old school,
Yeah, the
the
original.
Farrah Fawcett crew.
Oh yeah, back. Yeah, okay.
I mean, if you're talking about 2000 crew, like, yeah, Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore, and Lucy Liu.
Lucy Liu, my favorites. Yeah.
But yeah. Shut up. But but you saw those think pieces. You saw all those like the flame wars and all the unironic like feminism is ruining my TV.
I know, right? It's just I honestly don't see what's wrong with it. I mean, I like the progression. I like seeing more women in film. I like it. I mean, I like different takes on it. Like, what's wrong with an all-female Ghostbusters crew? What's wrong with the Ocean's 8 all-female crew? I don't see anything wrong. I mean, yeah, feminism, rah, 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 blah, 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 but everything doesn't have to be so political. It's like, Jesus.
I'll say this. I think it's the mentality of when a film is not funny or it's not as great and godlike to the highest standard they have for a Ghostbusters movie. If it's all men, it'll be, oh, the writing wasn't funny. With all women, it's because it's the women that it's not funny.
I remember that being an
shifts,
argument.
They shift the blame on different things depending on who's the lead.
So men writing, women, it's the women.
It's the women.
It's the women.
Just
They-
you being there, it's like
This goes back to
Like, I'm sorry.
this goes back to like the whole Megan Fox thing where it's like they took a job, they read what's on the script, they didn't write the jokes, they didn't write the script, they were given a job, they got hired by I'm assuming it was directed by and produced by men, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yes.
I
So-
mean, a lot of it. Oh my God,
Screenwriters, I think they were
I-
majority men, but I'm not entirely sure.
I hate Michael Bay movies, period, because they're full of stereotypes. They over-sexualize the women, and it's just not good. It's stick to what you know, Michael Bay. Stick to what you know. You like to blow stuff up. Keep it to where you know, because most of all, it's like a stereotypes that I can't stand. But after hearing about what happened with Megan Fox, it's like in the movie, she's basically a prop. She's a sex toy.
Yeah.
If I'm being really honest, she's a sex toy.
just
In
there to look very,
she's
very
just
hot.
and to lean over cars and look sexy while
Look,
doing
gaze
it.
into her eyes and just be like,
Was
okay.
she in the Ninja Turtles movie too?
She
or
was.
she was.
She was.
It was
She was.
that
But
and Transformers.
Michael Bay produced that as well.
That's what I'm saying. Like I don't know.
There's
Is-
some
Is
weird.
he typecasting? Maybe I don't know.
I feel like he does that.
I feel like typecasting.
I mean, the black jokes and the over sexualization of women. Oh my God, the black jokes. But not a fan of Michael Bay, in case you haven't noticed.
Yeah.
So, but I've seen his movies.
Right. Okay. But on another note, so
Yes.
question for you guys. Now, I've always wondered this. It's been a deep thought. It's been a deep down thought. It's like, okay, so I do understand that in the context of our society, how they basically masculinize masculinity, whatever they do that
Masculinity?
to the thought of toughness and strength. That's why when you think of toughness, it's like toughness is more like a physical attribute, whereas strength is more like just the ability to endure and overcome. So when it comes down to like how that's relevant to this conversation, it's like they seem to always since masculinity is at the core of both of these words, they over masculinize some women in movies in order to make them fit these roles that I don't feel like they necessarily have to
No,
fit.
it's like you can never be one or the other. Yeah, well, you are one or the other, but you can never be both. That's the problem. It's like you're either a super bad A chick who doesn't play by the rules, who's tougher than her male adversaries, who learned how to fight because, well, I have brothers, so I hate that. I hate that
trope.
so
That
much.
I have brothers means I get to beat up 300-pound dudes.
But
it's like,
trust me, if every single time I watch a film, 9 times out of 10, if there's a chick who can somehow shoot a gun or is good at fighting or wrestling or whatever, and the other male lead is like, hey, where'd you learn to do that? Oh, yeah, I got brothers.
or she had a dad in the military.
Or my dad wanted a son.
Like, hey,
My dad wanted a son.
My dad wanted a son. I hate those.
yeah.
Well, and unfortunately, this all goes back to when you're talking about Legally Blonde. Unfortunately, women can't be taken as a serious, like, oh, finally, a woman I can relate to, unless she's like super, like, bad A, like.
But even that's not-
very masculine coded, and. Like you said, Legally Blonde, people, like, I would consider that a very strong character.
She's very strong.
Yeah.
She had to overcome discrimination and the fact that she, like, discrimination as in, like, people didn't take her seriously.
Yeah, because she was a
woman.
blonde. She's not even just a woman. She's a blonde
She's a
woman.
blonde
So
woman.
clearly she's not smart and will never amount to anything. They told her that she wasn't smart enough and she should just stick to modeling and being in magazines. And not even her boyfriend took her seriously and dumped her because, she couldn't be taken seriously. He wanted a brunette.
Yep.
And then she went to prove him wrong. Well, she went to get her boyfriend back. But then in the end, it turned into, no, I'm just going to prove everyone wrong. Not just my boyfriend, Warner, but everyone to prove that I can be this lawyer. I can do that. But when it comes to movies and television, it's like I feel like women can never be both. They can never be strong, but also feminine. It's like being a strong female lead doesn't mean you have to sacrifice your femininity and sacrifice being a girl to be strong.
Like for instance with the Alien movie, I feel like in Alien the main character Ripley was very masculine as a woman.
Yeah,
you know
she
what I'm saying?
was.
She was super masculine.
Yeah.
And the fact that, like, just when you think about it, it's like why is it that every female character has to get thrown into basically a masculine? You have to almost be a dude. Like literally at the end of
Exactly,
Alien, I almost felt like she was one of the fellas. I could high five her and be like, "You made it out, bro." It's like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like
That's one of those situations.
Well, and it's because, like, masculine coding to put on a female character, because to have a female character be strong, but like you say, keep her femininity and God forbid keep her sexuality.
yeah, exactly.
It's too.
That's asking for too much.
That's a
Apparently.
lot of controversy. You're going into territory where people are like, "Ugh, I can't believe that she's only being celebrated because she's conventionally a woman." And it's one of those where it's like I can't. I'm sure they exist, but I can't personally think of them. Can you? I mean, Legally Blonde was a good example. I think,
Well, as far as
like, kind of keeping your femininity.
there's The Secret of Nim. It's an animated film.
That's a good film.
It's an animated film, but it's still based on a mother whose main goal is she's just trying to make sure her son is well, and she's trying to get medicine for her son. It's like she keeps that femininity about her. It's like she's brave, but even though she's scared, but she goes and faces these challenges. She goes up against an owl to save her son.
Yes.
And she's just a timid
Little mouse.
little mouse who happens to be a woman, and her only goal is to protect her family and to, heal her son, get this medicine for her son. So, prime example.
That was a good movie, by the way.
Great movie. One of Don Bluth's best movies.
Oh God.
The late Don Bluth. Wait, is he still alive? No, he's dead, isn't he? Don Bluth?
Don Bluth.
Yeah, Don
I
Bluth.
think he
is-
died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The late Don Bluth. May he rest in peace. But yeah, fantastic movie. What I will say, what I really cannot stand when it comes to strong female leads is how the woman will be so great at what she does. She's awesome. She's amazing. She can hold her own like the rest of them. But because of plot or whatever, suddenly the guy needs to come to her rescue, and suddenly she doesn't know how to do any of her crime-fighting kick-butt moves.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all. Matrix, I'm looking at you, Trinity, because Trinity was awesome, and now she's kind of overshadowed by Neo, because he's the one, I get it, but it's like I can't stand movies where the woman can clearly hold her own. She's totally capable. But then, for some reason, she gets kidnapped, and now she becomes the damsel in distress, and now the man has to save her.
I don't know why, but I think of Avatar. You remember that one woman she was one of the humans, and she was like, I'm a bad A and all this and that.
I think I
and
know
she
what you're
was
talking about.
she was in the helicopter, and they killed her almost instantly.
I'm sorry, it's your face right now. They killed her.
They killed her.
They just killed her. Almost
and then
instantly.
and then it's like, you know, and I don't know why I don't like that film. I never even as an edgy baby. When I was a young teenager in my
Living on the
throes of
edge.
angst, I was like, this movie is just Dances with Wolves with 8-foot naked
Yes.
blue people.
Yes.
What's up with the tail thing?
Yes. Yes.
I don't know.
It was Dances with Wolves meets
Sigourney.
Pocahontas meets Ferngully. Throw them all together, put it in the microwave, and you have a baby.
Sigourney Weaver was in that movie too.
She was. But I hated
James
Avatar.
Cameron.
Hated Avatar.
Wow.
James Cameron.
Sequel coming out very soon.
Oh, I
It
hate that
is.
movie. I hate that movie
Straight
so
to
much.
Disney Plus.
I still argue.
Oh no.
I still
Catch it
argue
for
that people would
$15.99.
not have remembered that movie if it wasn't just pretty to look at.
Visually, the movie is great. I mean, it looks like one giant blob of CGI, but visually, it's
Everything
beautiful.
with 6 legs.
But I thought the movie was really stupid. Like you said,
It
it
was
was
just
Dances
bland.
with Wolves. It
was
was
pretty
Dances
bad.
with Wolves, Ferngully, and Pocahontas.
You know, and that you had that female lady, the alien chick.
Yeah,
I don't remember
the cat
one of the Navi. Yeah, one of the Navi chick that he gets with. She was also kind of useless and only there to be like, oh, you should have her. She's the best hunter. Or this other woman. And he's like, no, I
I'm
love
loving the dramatics
you.
right now.
She was useless, and so was that one. Like I said, the human chick. She just dies, but then you follow this guy around, and it's just like, what's. What I'm saying is that, like, unfortunately, women are it's very casual and easy just to put them in the back seat. Like, yeah, you're gonna be love interest. Go away.
I hate that role too.
Love interest.
Then we have love triangles. Hate love triangles and anything. I hate them.
Pearl Harbor.
They were trying to copy Titanic through and through.
That was good. You brought that one up. I almost forgot about Pearl Harbor.
Pearl Harbor.
Pearl Harbor.
I don't like Pearl Harbor because I feel like
Bond,
Michael
everybody.
Bay was trying to do. I don't like Pearl Harbor because I feel like Michael Bay was trying to piggyback off of James Cameron's success, and I thought it was coincidentally that it came out in 2000.
I think so.
And it's the same premise, a real life historical event, but then you got this epic love story in the background. Only it's a trifecta sort of love triangle love story.
Plus, it was really overboard with like what happened.
It
You know,
was.
it was criticized that it was like they didn't bomb like they were showing like bombing civilian areas, which did not happen.
But it's
like,
Michael Bay because
not historically
not,
correct.
it was not. They were like, no, it's got to be more dramatic. So I want to be the new Titanic.
yeah, that's pretty much right down to the original song. It was just trying to copy
God.
right off the coattails.
Yeah.
I love Celine Dion.
We got Faith Hill to sing the ending song.
Right.
He copied everything. He thought he could do what James Cameron did. Only James Cameron actually cared and did his research. Pearl Harbor, no. There's too many factual errors, even though the best part about that movie was the bombing of Pearl Harbor. I didn't care about the love story. I thought it was stupid. Made no
That's
sense.
the only people remember is the
Most
Pearl
times
Harbor
the love
scene.
story is never good like that anyway.
I mean,
In an action movie, like in a movie that's really supposed to be like an action movie, yeah, love stories would be extra.
well, let me
Yeah.
I guess they try to give the story a little more dimension, and it
Well, let me
falls
tell you
short
this.
a lot.
Let me tell you this. This is the reason why Titanic is far more superior to Pearl Harbor in terms of the romantic aspect.
Oh yeah, preach to him.
Okay. So the first time I saw this movie, I already knew that the ship was going to sink. Everybody knew that the ship was going to sink. And James Cameron basically told you that the ship was going to
Yeah.
sink.
Spoilers, you guys.
Guys,
It's 20 years old.
First of all,
The whole point.
Spoilers. We
whole-
all know the Titanic story anyway.
Okay, but here's the kicker.
Everyone knew it was going to.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
He knew that everybody knew that story, but that's not the point of the movie. The point is what you're experiencing at the time that it's happening. It's about the experience itself. And that's what the old lady is telling you in the beginning. So she knows, and everybody knows that it sinks. So the point is what you are feeling at the time that it's happening. I was so invested in that love story. Even if it was 3 days, it doesn't really matter about time. That's a whole nother discussion. But even though it was only 3 days, I was invested in these characters. I cared about what happened to them. I wanted them to get off and start a life together. So by the time the iceberg actually showed up, I literally forgot that this ship was going to sink. And I found myself leaning to one side, kind of thinking, well, maybe it's not going to happen. That's beautiful storytelling to me. When you can put the audience in that mind frame of making them forget something that's inevitable, Now you're sold for the rest of the movie. Now you're rooting for these characters. You care about the people. You care about what's going on.
Right. I think the best part about that movie was the fact that since it was the love story and you know the boat's going to sink, you just don't know whether or not they're going to live or not.
And that's the point.
That was really
Well,
the question.
It's it's dramatic irony because
You know.
what's gonna happen. They don't know,
Right.
and then it's like, oh no.
But I think there was some epic bit of foreshadowing at the beginning of that movie where, like I said, they
This ship
told
will
you.
not sink.
They tell you from start to finish how it sinks. So they put it in your head. But then you become involved with the characters and you fall in love with the characters. So when it shows up, you're kind of upset and you're praying against fate that it won't happen, but you know it's going to. So now you're kind of hoping that, it doesn't happen. So that to me is what makes it far superior than Pearl Harbor, because I did not care about these two. I didn't care about this relationship.
This
Not-
three triangle wasn't it? Yeah,
Yeah, it was a triangle. At first, it was Ben Affleck and Kate Beckinsale. Then I guess he died, and then his best friend moved in, thinking that he died. Like, yeah,
Hey.
so I'm not dead after all. So can we pick up where we left off? Oh, this is awkward. Oh, and this is the part that I thought was so messed up in the movie. He didn't tell his best friend, I guess, that Kate Beckinsale's character was pregnant and waited till he was like dying. Like, you can't die because you're going to be a father. Oh, you douche. You couldn't think to tell me that before I went off. Then I have a reason to actually fight and live. No, jerk.
It's kind of the same premise in Armageddon, another Michael Bay film.
I actually
Wow,
like
you made
that
that
film by
too?
Michael
Yeah.
Bay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was actually a pretty good one. I'll give him that. Yeah.
There's a little chemistry between was that Ben Affleck
And Liv Tyler?
Liv Tyler. They had pretty good chemistry.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I liked I liked what's his name? The dad who played the dad?
Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis. I liked Bruce Willis's relationship with his daughter more than I liked Ben Affleck with Liv Tyler. They had better chemistry, and then what the dad did for his daughter and everyone, all of humanity at the end, blah blah blah.
I got a question for you both.
Okay.
If you had to suggest one movie that had a female lead in it, what would it be that was really good, that you really felt that, was like one of those movies that you would suggest to look at, for someone that just ordinarily didn't care for those type of movies?
Legally Blonde, hands down.
Okay.
It's a well-rounded, not your typical, bad A female who's just beautiful character storyline, I think, as far as her development and watching her, being, I don't want to say ditzy. I hate the word ditzy, but this blonde chick who's stereotyped for being blonde and not measuring up to anything, amounting to anything, only to come out on top and not only surpass her ex-boyfriend, but to succeed with honors. And actually, in the end, the best part about that movie was the climax in the courtroom, where being a first-time lawyer, just going off on little faith, and she actually solved the murder case based on something that she knew. So she held on to who she was as a person. She did not sacrifice who she was as a person. And instead, she embraced that part, but in the end, she maintained who she was. And overall, she succeeded. So I highly recommend Legally Blonde to anyone who hasn't seen that.
It was very funny.
It was
It
very
was
funny also.
very
It was
funny.
very funny.
Line two
I
was
liked
good,
it
too.
specifically because of that.
And I'll just say this, and I'll let Kim say this,
No, go
but
ahead.
ask anybody, because I tell people, like, look, I got that Elle Woods, I'm trying to get my boyfriend back in Harvard motivation type thing going on. Tell anybody that, they know exactly what you're talking about. I got that Elle Woods motivation. I got that Elle Woods, I'm trying to get my boyfriend back at Harvard motivation. And people know what you're talking about.
That was a good movie.
It was. Honestly, I think I really was sold with Legally Blonde. I think is the honestly a piggyback off you, like Legally Blonde, because I came in here thinking like, oh, I'm thinking of Alien or all these other Wonder Woman and the new Wonder Woman, and but then as we kind of had this conversation and this dialogue, it makes me think, I think I am looking for more like women who keep their femininity and have their growth and don't have to sacrifice that to be taken seriously.
No, you shouldn't have to, because it doesn't. Being a strong woman, at the end of the day, I think doesn't mean just wielding a sword. It means maintaining that femininity about yourself.
Yeah.
You don't have to be the tomboy who doesn't like the girly things and can hang with the boys and looks down at girls who like to wear dresses and get their hair done. Like, no. To me, I would gravitate more to the strong housewife who's trying to do for her kids than I probably would for Jessica Jones. And that's just me saying that. It's like, I like strong female characters like Jessica Jones and, things like that. Or Wonder
Captain
Woman.
America
But those are like
and all
such easy choices to pick because, yes, of course they're strong. Look at them. But to pick someone like Elle Woods, can't believe I'm saying this, Cersei Lannister, even Sansa, I know she's crazy, but there's a strength in Cersei. She's crazy. Sansa, I have a new appreciation for Sansa because strength comes in different forms. It's not about just kicking butt all the time. That's the bottom line. Strength is not about kicking butt. You kick butt in other ways.
Gosh. What's that one girl's name, the main lead in Shameless? What's her name? Oh my gosh, what is her name?
Power of the
Not
Google.
Naomi.
Power of the Google.
She's a good example. She goes through kind of her, like, my boyfriend watches it and he goes crazy over that show. But I as I passively watch it, I'm like, you know what? She goes through an arc and she gets all of her life together. I don't know why I think of her. But, it just kind of makes a full circle.
Is it Fiona Gallagher?
Fiona.
Okay.
That's her name. That's a Shameless is a good example. You want to talk about an endurance test? Shameless. But, like you're saying, and kind of bookending, as much as I understand that Halle Berry's role in Catwoman was horrible, nowadays, I can't help but have some sort of like biased, rose-colored tinted, like, you were the first woman as a child that I was like, I want to be like you. I think you're cool. And all the sexual stuff went over my head, but all I saw was a cool woman who kicked butt and was really,
cool.
really awesome and pretty. And I was like, I want to be like you. And you know what? What more is it to female leaders than it is to empower women and little girls to be who they are? And I think women, unfortunately, are going to be scrutinized to death, no matter what they do or what they say or what they do and don't do. But ultimately, a strong woman is a woman who holds to her own, owns up to what she's doing or what she's not participating in, and owning to herself. She doesn't, and Legally Blonde or, Fiona or, like I said, like Halle Berry.
Hey, Halle Berry.
All at the end of the day, strength is subjective.
Totally subjective.
Completely.
Everyone has their own interpretation of what strength and endurance is, what toughness is.
But you know what?
Yeah. No, I don't know what.
I was just gonna say that. Women, as long as they hold to their own and don't let society or the male gaze change them, I think that's pretty admirable.
Be who you are and don't apologize for it.
Exactly.
Bottom line. So
Bottom
is
line.
that how we're closing this out?
Yeah.
Yes.
So just wrap it up here on Cool Nerds Unite. You heard it here first. Strong is a totally subjective term. Be who you are. Never stop being who you are, and never ever apologize for it.
Never.
Skip that, lift weights.
Okay, this is Cool Nerds Unite. I have been your host, Amber Marie, with my special guest host, Miss Kim. The strong ladies of Cool Nerds Unite.
Yes.
Kimberly and Amber.
And the two nerds that you heard in the
Kimmy.
background, filling the beat, Roderick. Of course, follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Like and subscribe to our channel. Check us out on YouTube. We got YouTube videos up now. Email us at coolnerdsunite@gmail.com. Send us your thoughts and opinions. Tell us what you liked about the show, what you didn't like. If you have an opinion about today's show, we would love to hear about it. We might even read it on the air. You never know.
A male day would be cool.
A mail day?
A male.
A mail day?
Where you like
Yes.
read
We just
the mail.
got a letter.
Yeah.
We just got a letter. We just got a letter. Wonder who it's from.
You open it.
Shout out to Blue's Clues.
Now we're getting sued.
You want to? You want
Thanks,
to?
Amber. We
you wanna
haven't even got
talk
the
about
first
a
check yet.
At least we do have a lawyer.
Female lead, Blue from Blue's Clues.
Blue is a
girl.
strong female
lead.
lead.
That's
Yeah.
what we're talking.
Yeah.
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 Even though for a long time I did not know that.
I did
Even though
not
she had
know.
her homegirl Magenta on there too.
That was her girl.
I was
My
like,
girl Magenta and this my girl Blue. Someone needs to dress up as a Blue and Magenta and just go out and do shout outs.
Magenta.
That'd be cute.
Life with Blue and Magenta. What's up? We out here doing it.
Like, what's up? We out here. We ain't got Steve. You know what I'm saying? We strong independent.
Puppies.
There's a B word in there.
Okay, I think we're done. But yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe to us. This has been Cool Nerds Unite. And remember, stay nerdy.
Woo!
Yeah.
That was good.
No more. No, please. No.
You are.
No. No.
She has lost more weight.
Oh my God.